this episode of the AAF Exchange, addressing affordability, politics versus policy. Joining us to discuss all this is AAF President Douglas Holtz-Eakin. Doug, thanks for joining us.
Always good to be here. Thank you.
Oh, I just dropped my papers. I'm gonna pick that up.
All good.
We're doing this. I'm doing this sans without coffee this morning, so this is going to be fun.
That's terrifying.
Well, we got the jobs data this morning, so I had to get here early, and then it's been
Are you
had to
whining?
film Fred, so I just haven't had time to go get my coffee. So
I don't like
pure
being-
adrenaline this morning for me.
I don't like being in a closed room with an uncaffeinated person. I think that's.
What is the phobia? What is that phobia called?
I don't know.
All right. Well, in any event, what's been on your mind?
Well, I testified yesterday at the Senate Finance Committee. The title was ostensibly seeking healthcare reforms to lower costs, but it was actually a food fight over the extension of these enhanced premium tax credits in the ACA markets. And so I shouldn't ever be disappointed by a hearing because I should go in with expectations low enough that it's not possible. Nevertheless, I made the mistake of actually thinking they might engage on the narrow issue of, is there a place where they can reach compromise and maybe not do the whole thing, certainly not do it for 10 years? And really, I would love to see them engage in a bigger healthcare reform, something that, in my view, should encompass Medicare Advantage, which is the future of the Medicare program, and genuinely has the chance to improve the delivery of care in the United States. But alas.
Yeah.
And I was reduced to simply asking Bernie Sanders what the definition of comprehensive was. And if you get there, you're in bad shape.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think the politics of the moment, it was bound to happen.
A lot of speechifying.
Yeah, I mean, but you made some good points in your testimony and things like that. So maybe not for this moment,
Yeah.
but pull it back up at another time.
I guess you can have these recurrent biases in life. I've testified a lot, let's face it, and I always forget that the written testimony does matter.
Yeah.
I quickly forget that I've even submitted it and just go and answer the questions. But it does matter to some people, and so, perhaps there is something there.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we could have a whole conversation about healthcare and the ACA.
We could have many such conversations.
But it's also important to this podcast as we talk about affordability, because a lot of people are talking
Yes,
about
it's a big
lot
deal.
of that. But let's take a step back and review the economy. I think that's very important. We've gone a month without major new economic data. Today was the first time we got September jobs data,
Which was surprisingly strong in my view.
yes. Well, and but what do we know? Where does the economy stand now?
Well, let's quickly just do the September report because it is the news. 119,000 jobs, a bigger number than one might have expected. I think the expectation was 50,000 consensus. We'd come off 22,000 in August, so that's a fairly big number. But once again, it's concentrated in leisure and hospitality and health. Those two gave us 107,000 jobs. The rest, puts and takes, netted out to not much more. So from that perspective, it was, you might not think it's that great. The surprise was over in the household survey, where the unemployment rate went up to 4.4%. But it was because we had very strong labor force growth. Labor force participation was up. There were 250 jobs created in the household report. Those are all good numbers. Think about that labor force number. It's especially striking given the immigration restrictions. It says that the folks who are here already chose to participate more. So that's sort of a development that people look for a long time. And so I take away from this the basic notion that of the two mandates, full employment and price stability, the price stability one is more endangered than the full employment one, and the Fed might want to recalibrate somewhat.
Interesting. Yeah, but so what else do we know about the economy right now? I mean, the September jobs obviously is the only real data we have, but what do we?
We know that inflation remains elevated compared to the 2% target, and at the last measurements was going the wrong direction, north, not south. I think the real issue there is just how far it goes before you can see the pass-through of the tariffs sort of get fully baked in, and then the Fed goes back to work and get it down. So that's an issue. We really do need to see the GDP report because we've been walking around with this simultaneous flat labor market, maybe a little stronger than we thought, and a GDP now estimate that's like 4%, which implies 4% productivity practically. So I want to know if that's for real. When they start adding it up and you start looking at the numbers, what did we get in the third quarter?
Yeah. What about the Beige Book? Did that have any?
Beige Book gave us the usual mixed picture. Sure, we'll get one before the December meeting. That'll be useful. We've been getting the we got the New York index today, or the Philly. It was the Philly Fed index. That was flat. All right. So all of the manufacturing indices reveal that manufacturing has been in decline for 8 straight months and is not going anywhere. It's services, if anything, that are driving the economy.
Yeah, a lot of people, the clear buzzword going around with the economy is of course affordability.
Yeah.
That's what everyone is talking about.
That's the inflation
thing. What are Americans seeing that has them so concerned?
Well, healthcare costs, no question. We just got at AAF, we just got our healthcare quotes, and they're up double digits. So that's not a great feeling. You've got food costs, and Thanksgiving's coming. Everyone's repricing the Thanksgiving dinner, and it's up substantially, and so that's a concern. We've seen beef prices. You go across the board. There's a lot of concerns, and so this has become the takeaway from the off-year elections that Democrats did so well in. That the White House needs to be more concerned about the affordability issue. So they've been on a full-scale public relations mission, and I'd say the messaging they might want to think harder about.
Yeah, I mean, I just you mentioned the holiday dinners are coming up, and I was just on the phone with my mother yesterday, and we were talking about how the price of beef tenderloin, how much that's gone up, and we might rethink our usual Christmas dinner just because of how costs are getting up there. So yeah, it is affecting people, especially this time of year.
So this is very Biden-esque in its feel. I mean, I can't believe we're doing this again. The first response out of the White House was, no, that's not right. Costs are down.
Yeah.
Well, telling people they're wrong is not an effective messaging strategy. Okay, let's put that one aside. Then they went into the Biden guys went to greedflation and shrinkflation and all of these finger pointing exercises. We've seen a fair number of finger pointing exercises out of the White House.
Yeah.
On the beef, it's the meat packers. They had the Truth Social thing. They're colluding. I'm asking the DOJ to investigate. And Fred Ashton took a look at this for AAF, and there's a nice paper on the website. There hasn't been any real change in the top 4 firm concentration ratio in 40 years.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing that looks like it coincides with the rising price of beef. And if you look at the difference between what they pay farmers for cattle and what they get when they sell the meat, it's narrowed, not widened. So they're not somehow preying on people. And the explanations that he comes with are old-fashioned supply and demand. There was a drought, nothing to feed on, fewer cattle. There's also been some illness. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's one of the many proposals that are sort of coming out and we're hearing. So, politicians on both sides are, proposing a host of policies they claim will make America more affordable. What are some of these proposals? We just mentioned the DOJ meatpacking thing, and that will actually help to bring prices down.
So if you have a high price problem, you have a supply problem. And the fundamental framing of this is that's a mistake. It's the White House saying we're going to bring prices down. And focusing on the prices leads you to bad policies like most favored nation, price fixing of things like that. And it also leads you to think, okay, well, prices will be easier if we subsidize them. And so you start throwing money at demand. We do this all the time. Mm-hmm. We do it in housing. Prices go up. That's what the enhanced premium tax credits are. In the end, let's just throw some money at health insurance. Well, health insurance prices will go up, I promise you. So they need to have a strategy which is genuinely broad-based increases in supply. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, think about the mechanics of it, that's a save, invest, grow, enhance the size and modernization of the capital stock. All that does is raise wages. Mm-hmm. And what you really want to do is get wages up, not prices down.
Yeah.
Because if you're rich, it don't matter what the price is.
One proposal you left out there was the tariff checks.
I forgot about the dividend checks. Yes, how could I? That's such good policy. Oh, yes. That solves a lot of political problems, walking around money. But come on. Like, what exactly is that supposed to accomplish? Well, let's just stimulate more demand push up the inflation problem, and they don't have the money to do it. We figured out that there's about $2,100 per household in tariff revenue. So if you gave one check per household, you use it all up. He's proposing one check per person.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep that to the people under 100,000, you're at $300 billion, well above the amount that tariffs have raised. If you let it go to everybody, you're looking at $600 billion. It's just it doesn't solve any problem, and they can't do it, but they're talking about it.
Yeah, this really does have this whole policy conversation around affordability. It has the feel of shrinkflation again, and all of this. It's just the same playbook, just with different.
The fundamental division of labor here is the Fed takes care of inflation. That's the genuine affordability problem. Get it back to 2%. You take care of the growth in real wages. Life goes on.
Yeah.
And instead, they're doing neither. They're interfering with the Fed and doing nothing for real wages.
So okay, you've been in DC a while. You generally think about good policy. So let's put politics aside, if that is even possible. What policies would actually make life more affordable?
Look, the number one thing you could do tomorrow, we get rid of the tariffs. Put them in place, take them off. I mean, you put a $190 billion tax in the economy. It's raising prices everywhere, either directly or in the supply chain. And those impacts have not all been felt yet. It's going to get worse, not better. So stop that.
Yeah.
That will also leave $190 billion in the pockets of businesses and households who can then afford some of the price increases that have happened already. That will be very helpful as well. So you want to do something, do that quick. They also have not quite gone full bore at the deregulation efforts. I expected more by now. They've got some preliminary rulemakings that look like they'll take off some of the big sticker shock we got with Biden. Like let's have a rule that gets rid of the internal combustion engine. That's a lot of costs, but they can take that out. It's the more nuts and bolts of the economy that I thought they'd do more deregulation on. We haven't really seen that.
Mm-hmm. I really haven't. I mean, the reg budget, I don't really hear a lot about. The 2 for 1. The two. I guess they were going to go 10 for 1.
10 for 1.
But like the 2 for 1 that worked so well in Trump 1 doesn't seem to be, at least not in the
principle narrative. It's not in the narrative, right? In principle, what he gave he gave the agencies the same targets they had in 2017. Which was a very effective strategy. He then exempted DHS and Customs and Borders. So overall costs are what matter. You can't pretend some costs don't exist. This is like, the Biden guys were trying to rig the credit scores by taking out the things they didn't like. I mean, it's just, come on. You can't fool Mother Nature. And so I expected more on the reg front. They have oversold what's in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, in my view. I mean, it had the investment incentives, but the most of it was just extending current law and then some political favors that aren't going to do a whole lot. The exception to that is there's going to be a big chunk of money that comes out at refund time next year. Everything was backdated to January 1, 2025, and no withholding tables were changed and all that good stuff. So for the expensing, the tax bill is going to be lower for some firms. Some of these provisions will pay off for the individuals. I think that's going to be, a substantial cash flow. People have estimated as much as $130 billion into the economy in the second quarter of next year. We'll notice that. So while people are worried about weakness in the economy right now, and I think that's a fair thing, I've seen some of the private forecasts have the fourth quarter at negative, but everyone has to pick it up in the spring because there's no way around it.
Interesting. Well, thanks for coming on and talking about affordability, and hopefully we start seeing we'll start talking about this more and more as we get closer to midterms and things like that.
Oh, I bet we will.
But before I let you go, I do have one final hard-hitting question for you. Who is going to be the Steelers starting quarterback?
If he can play, they're going to put Rodgers back in.
Yeah.
You have to give the man a chance to fail. And but you know how I feel about this. I think it's not a wise experiment. So bring on Mason Rudolph and find out what Will Howard can do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we all know who the starting Patriots quarterback will be for quite a while, hopefully.
He's playing well now. No, I mean the problem with the NFL is you have to be healthy come playoff time.
Yeah,
that's everything. And so we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Fingers crossed.
See it all the time. Well, Doug, this is our last podcast before the Thanksgiving break, so enjoy your Thanksgiving and
happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
And if you're traveling, then stay safe.
May your Thanksgiving be affordable.